This video will be about configuring the load balancing service on the NSX environment. Well, before we do that, I created a little drawing again in order to demonstrate what we are going to do. Well, in NSX we have two forms of load balancing. We have the one-armed mode, also called the proxy mode, and we have the inline mode, which is also called the transparent mode. Well, this movie will be specific about the one-arm mode, but I will explain the difference to you. So within the one-armed mode, we connect the load balancer, well, actually with one arm on the same logical switch where the web servers are. In the inline mode, we use this ESG here as the load balancer, and it will be inline, and the web servers will be on a logical switch on the LDR as well. Well, the difference between the two is, for example, in one-armed mode, when the client makes a connection to one of these web servers through a one-armed load balancer, the user connects to that VIP, and then the ESG will do a destination net but also a source net. So with the destination net, it will basically change the destination IP address because the client makes a request to this destination IP address, but eventually it will need to go to either this web server or this web server. So the ESG will change that IP address, destination IP address, to this lab server web 1 or this web server 2. But it will also do a source net. So in the source net, it will kind of, rewrite the original source IP address with its own source IP address. So when that happens, the ESG will forward the request to the web server, and then the web server replies back to the ESG, and the ESG replies back to the client. This configuration is the fastest to deploy, but there are a few things that, some people may not like. One of the things is that the web server does not see the original IP address of the client, and if you want to do traffic analysis or monitor stuff, that will probably be a problem. Well, there is one option that NSX or the ESG offers, is that you can check a box. It's called insert X forwarded for HTTP header, and you do that on this here. So that means that it will send the user IP eventually, but in the HTTP header, but it will only work with HTTP traffic. So another thing, or benefit, it's how you want to see it, is that the web servers here doesn't necessarily need to have their default gateway to the load balancer. It can also, in this environment here, in this setup here, these two web servers has their default gateway to the LDR here. So in one-arm mode, it will work even though you have a different default gateway. So let's start configure. First of all, this movie will be about configuring the one-armed load balancer, and as you can see here, I have one ESG already connected. This part, as you have, if you have viewed my last movie, you probably know how the lab environment works. If you haven't watched my last movie, please watch it. So the ESG is already existing. It's connected into an LDR. There's OSPF here in between, and the web servers are connected to a logical switch, logical switch web. And what I've done is I've just created a new ESG, and I've connected that to the logical switch as well. So I'm not going to show you how to create a new ESG because that's already done in previous videos. But I'm going to show you how to configure it. So here you can see my load balancer, let me see if I've done it correctly. So if I go to the NSX Edge, you will see an Edge tree here, which is called lab ESG LB1, load balancer 1. And if I go into the load balancer, you will see that, let me go to the settings and to the interfaces, you will see that it's connected to a DLS web, and I've assigned an IP address to it. So, well, that should be okay. Right now, let's start configuring the load balancer. So for load balancer, we need to go to the load balancer tab. As you can see, everything is disabled here. Let's edit, and let's enable the load balancer. So just hit enable, and well, these are all settings. I will leave these default right now. Let's hit OK, and let's go to the application profile. Here we will define the, well, what type of application it is. So what we want to do is, let me, application profile HTTP. I want to use HTTP traffic here. This was the checkbox that I was talking about. I will not check it right now. And let's hit OK. And let's go to the pool. And I will create a pool. Here you basically well, define what type of virtual servers you want to have in the pool. So right now I'm just going to call it LB pool web, because it's a pool that only will exist of web servers. For monitoring, I will use the default right now, so I will just use HTTP monitoring because we're doing HTTP. We can assign a member, so we're assigning a member here, and it's, well, by default enabled. Let's give it a name, and this is going to be my web01. There are different object types here, so if we want to have a virtual machine, we select a virtual machine, and it will bring up all the virtual machine objects. And here you will see that I have a web1. Well, let's hit OK. I want to have it on port 80 because that's where it listens on, and I want to have port 80 also monitored. Let's hit OK. Let's select another one. So this one will be the web02. Let's do the same here. And let's select web02, hit OK. The same here, port 80, monitor port 80 as well, hit OK, and let's hit OK. So right now we created a pool. We're not finished yet because we only enabled the load balancer. We created an application profile that we want to do HTTP. We created a pool. And oh, by the way, this one is also important, the algorithm that I'm using here. Let's go back here. There are different load balancing algorithms that we can use. Right now I'm going to use round robin, but there are a lot of different, the IP hash, it can check the least connections, etc, etc. So there are, I will go in another movie, I will go a little bit deeper on the settings, but right now it's just basic setup. So it's updating the pool, even though I didn't make any changes. So let's create a virtual server as well. And the virtual server is basically where you create the VIP. Right now it already selected an application profile because that's the only one we have. I'm going to create it load balancer virtual server web, because that's what we're using it for. The IP address is going to be the only IP address that we have. There's only one VNIC, which is, let me get the drawing, which is this IP address here. So this network interface that's sitting here. Let's hit OK. And we want to have it, well, the protocol has to be HTTP, port 80, and we're going to use this web pool where the virtual servers are in. Let's hit OK. And it will create the virtual server right now. Well, an important thing that I should mention is I basically disabled the firewall here, or well, not disabled it, but I changed this default rule from deny to accept to make sure that I don't have any rules blocking my web traffic. So load balancer setup is now finished, and let's see what it does. So right now I can go to one of my servers, 192.168.13.101. No, sorry, this is the wrong one. This is another web server, 1. And we can see here, this is my lab server web 1. Okay, and right now I can also go to the second one. Let me copy that IP address, and I can go to the second one, and you will see lab server web 2. Okay, so I can hit refresh here, hit it again, hit it again, hit it again. It won't change because it will stay on 2. For 1, I will do the same, refresh here. Every time that I do this, it will stay the same. So right now I'm just connecting directly to the web server 1 and directly to the web server 2. So let's test it with the load balancer. So the load balancer has the VIP address 100, and I already showed you that. So let's go to the 100, and you will see it will go to 1 first. Let's hit refresh. Again, it will go to 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. See that? So there's also a very neat trick that I can, well, neat. You can do a curl as well if you want to use command line http / and 192.168.13.1. You will see that it will, well, here you will see the 1, and you will see the 1 again, and the 1 again, and the 1 again. If I do the same with 2, you will see 2, and 2 again, and 2 again, and 2 again. So let's do it with 100. Load balancer. You will see it now. Here it shows 2. It shows 2 again. If I do it again, it should show which 1. It does. 1. Do it again. 2. Yes, there you go. 1 again. So that means that my load balancer is actually working.